Hello and welcome to a tutorial on how to host a Webex. So you're in your Webex screen. You can be connected with an audio headset or you can be connected through a telephone and be listening on speakerphone. I'm connected to the Webex with an audio headset. So let's take a look at the screen that we have in front of us here. Participant list is going to be in this particular spot, and you're going to see a list of people right here. You have the ability to have a chat feature, and we'll demonstrate that in a little bit. The person who's speaking is going to pop up in this particular area, and you also have the ability to record the entire session if that's something that you'd like to do. So you would capture and archive everything that happened. Another thing that you're going to want to pay attention to is down here. You want to make sure that if there's something you're going to pull up on the screen, you want to make sure that you can share your desktop so that those that are participating on the Webex call will be able to see what you have on the screen. If you don't do this, then they're not going to be able to see that. It does pay a couple of times during your presentation, at least once at the beginning and then maybe through the presentation at some point. It's always a good idea, especially if you're going to open up something new, just check with your audience and make sure that people are able to see your desktop. Sometimes I even forget to share my desktop at a particular point, or I go into doing another activity and I forget to go back. So it's always a good idea to check that that's set up to share if that's what your purpose is. Obviously end the meeting when you're all done. Another thing to pay attention to is if it's just you and one other person on the Webex, it's not that much of a big deal. But if you have a number of people on the Webex, it can get, it's very non-productive or unproductive to have a lot of people talking at the same time. If you've ever participated in Webexes with a lot of people, it's a good idea to have everybody mute their microphones. Even if they're not speaking, they may not pay attention or understand that there's going to be a lot of extraneous noise. They might be typing on their computer and everybody else will hear the tap, tap, tap. They could be participating from home and you got the dog barking in the background or hear the TV on or something like that. You also have the ability to pull up a webcam if that's something that you want to do, and if you actually have a webcam connected to the computer that you're going to be working with on this particular Webex. And there's some other things going on too that we'll talk about in a second as we get in here, related to sharing the host duties, giving somebody else the presenter duties or the host duties, and we'll talk about that in a second. Okay. Ooh, got some echo there. Don't want to have that echo? Okay, think we've corrected that now. I'm actually kind of taping myself, so I have a fictitious person on the Webex. But that's on another machine in my office, so I needed to be a little further away, otherwise the microphone may pick up some echo. So we've had an additional person. Notice under participants here, I have a different person now in the Webex, and that's Sandy. Sandy is also using a headphone. This would show a little telephone if she was logging in and participating in the Webex from a telephone, but she also has a headset on. And as you can see, the difference here is that this particular individual is muted. I'm picking up some feedback. Let me adjust. There we go. I adjusted the volume. I don't know how much of that you heard, maybe not a lot. Okay, so Sandy is our participant, and anytime we're in any other screen, we have the ability to go back and see who's still connected and how they're connected and whether or not people are on mute or not mute and who's speaking and not speaking. We can go back to this participant area just by clicking up here in the top. By opening up the chat feature, this is a way if you have a number of people who are participating in your Webex. So you have a whole long list of people and everybody's on mute except you as the host and presenter. You have the ability then to, with everybody on mute, still have a communication avenue going down here. So by clicking and opening up the chat feature, everybody, it's kind of like an instant message. So everybody has the ability to ask some questions or respond to some things, and it doesn't really interrupt the flow of the meeting. Periodically, you as the host can take a look down there to see if there's anything that you need to respond on, if there are people asking questions and so forth. if you decide at any point, maybe you have a couple of people in this Webex and you realize, you know, in order for us to solve whatever this is we're working on, we need to actually have somebody else. You can literally go to this spot right here and we can add another person. So we can invite somebody right on the fly while this Webex is going, and that person will get an alert in their email. They can accept that invitation and they will be right in your Webex. So that might be something that you're interested in doing as well. Okay, so the chat feature is down in this particular spot. There is the ability again for the person to put something in here, and I'm going to go over here in this particular spot. And, well, maybe I'll do that in a bit. We'll put a little chat in here to show what's going on. So at this point, that's pretty much what you're going to need to know as far as the layout. There's some other tools here a little bit more advanced. We're not going to worry about that right now. So at this particular point, let's talk about the share the desktop piece. So let's say that there is maybe there's a document or something that I want to bring up. So I'm going to open up a document here in my computer, and let's see. Let's say this is something we're working on. This particular meeting happens to be all about a discussion regarding SLOs for this particular class, and we're gonna work on these things together. So I have pulled this up in our screen. Now what I need to do, let me get rid of some other things here, is I'm going to have to come over here on my screen and hit Share Desktop in order for the people from the far end, so the people participating in Webex will be able to see it. And they now will have the ability. So now we're kind of getting a nice view here of what they see. Okay, so they're going to see this particular document on their screen. They're also going to have that particular window that was open up that has, you know, the participants will be along the side, and then the chat will be down in the bottom right side here. So it's going to make it very easy for you to actually be running this particular meeting, having everybody be able to view whatever it is that you have on your screen. And if you have to go pop up a website or something like that, oops, that's something what I want. Let's pop up a new window here and say there's something else that we need to discuss. We can pop up a website, and then, whoops, would help if I typed it correctly. Oh, okay. Not really what I want, but could work for our demonstration. CNN.com. Pulls up that particular website, and now everybody can view that website. And if you had a discussion or you needed to fire up links inside there, then you would have the ability to do that. So that's pretty much running that particular piece. At this point, I'm going to close out of this, and I am going to go back into my Webex splash screen. So the window area that I have captured doesn't show this, but above the particular window it says you are sharing your desktop. I'm going to slide this up here. Okay, so this, you are sharing your desktop. Once I go up to this particular spot here, it opens up my toolbar here. So then I get access to all those tools that I had before. If I wanted to pull up the chat window, there's the chat window to see if anybody's having a conversation. Again, go back up to the spot to get a list of the participants. I can see here's the participants that are in the meeting, and I can see that this is the host, this is the person speaking, and here's the person who is the participant in the meeting, and I actually unmute, but they're still connected. There's the share feature right here. If I needed to share that, I could annotate anything on the screen by going here and using tools to annotate this particular item. If I'm sharing, everybody's going to see it, or I can just annotate the item without showing people that situation. Okay, so what I did is I just went over to Sandy's computer and I had her raise her hand, which is one of the options that says she has a particular question. Now, she could have also typed it in the chat feature and so forth to send that message. So okay, so she just typed, hey, I have a question. So if you're actually the host running the Webex, you can be periodically checking down into the chat area in the lower right corner and, oh, okay, Sandy has a question. Go ahead, Sandy. And then Sandy would take herself off of mute and then could ask her question. Now, we were getting the feedback there because I'm in the same room with theoretically Sandy there, but that would be her actually speaking at that particular point. So that's, for the most part, that's what you're looking to do. I'm going to take it back to our participants area here, which shows you this particular screen. I want to point out one additional thing, and that is this particular ball kind of looks a little bit like a globe, and notice how it's next to Robert Payne. That's the host, that's me. As the host, you have the ability to give someone else the rights or the ability to be the host for a temporary period of time. Now, the reason that you would want to do that would be maybe that individual has a document or has something that they would like to share that you actually don't have access to. Now, we can make that a little bit easier. We could have anybody who's got something that they want to talk about in this particular WebEx, they can post it out to Google Drive and share it with the participants, and then we can all see it anyway. But there might be a situation where you would like to, for training purposes, maybe you want to get something started and you're tag teaming some training or some demonstration, and so you would do the first part and then you would want to turn it over to somebody else. And so all you need to do is to drag this ball. So I'm just clicking, holding on, and dragging. Okay, and it says, do you want to change the presenter to Sandy? And so you can cancel if I did that by mistake, or I can say passing presenter privileges to Sandy. Now notice how Sandy now has the ball. And what we're doing is we're back to the splash page of WebEx, and that is because Sandy doesn't have anything on her screen other than this splash page. So what Sandy could do now is she could actually do the share situation, and she could pull up something on her screen. So she could share my desktop, and we'll say monitor 1. And so now we're seeing Sandy's desktop. You can see that based on, this is what Sandy is seeing on her desktop. And then up here at the top, right here, this tab tells you that this is what you're viewing. Now Sandy is still on mute. Obviously she could take herself off mute if she was now going to explain some situations or some specific material that is on this particular document or website, whatever it is that she has pulled up. And then there is another way that either you as the host can take it back besides dragging the ball. You could have also did a right click and you can change that person to the presenter. Now there's a difference between the presenter and the host. The presenter is just the person that is allowed to control the screen and show things as far as sharing documents and sharing websites and that type of thing. But the host is the boss. So whoever has the host duties, they're the boss. So let's say you're the host, you create something, and you're going to be in the meeting for 15 minutes, and then you actually want someone else to be able to wrap everything up. They need to be made the host if you are not going to return, because it is still, you're the owner of the meeting, whoever the host is. The presenter is just the person up at the whiteboard, if you will. They're the one with the dry erase marker. They're the ones that are actually doing the talking. They're the ones that are sharing desktops, all that other kind of stuff. They're the ones that are kind of running it. So you can make somebody the presenter, and they just do their thing, and then eventually you can take that role back, and then you are the presenter. But you're always the host if you start it. The only way that you can move that or change that off of yourself if you plan on leaving the WebEx is to make someone else the host. And again, that's a right-click situation. And you can make that work. Okay, so that's the basics of running a WebEx. Again, muting participants, chat, sharing the desktop, that type of a thing is probably some of those areas of importance that you're going to want to do. I'm just actually taking back I'm now the presenter again, and we have my what I have up on my home screen. So there's participant area, the chat area. When you start the meeting, you can actually record, as I showed earlier. You don't have to record, but that's something that you can do if for whatever reason archiving would be important to you. So hopefully that helps you out whenever you are running or hosting a WebEx.